Greetings, and welcome back to the MCOC Encyclopedia. Today, we'll be continuing our journey into Act 7, covering all of the easiest paths. If multiple paths are an option in the quest, I will cover them all. Remember that these are just what I found easier, and your roster and experiences may vary. So let's dive in. Act 7, Chapter 4, Quest Number 4, Between the Eons. Only a few of these left before Kang number 2. The path we'll be taking today is down and right towards Squirrel Girl. Here we have paradox buffs, entropic prowess, quantum power, and prey on the feeble. Hey look, more paradox nodes. The pattern here is fairly similar to what we have seen before. Gaining a buff will also give you a paradox charge that will grant 30% special attack damage, and you can remove paradox charges by knocking the opponent down. Because of how dexterity is handled by the game, it is super important to know that the dex buff will grant you 2 charges, once when you trigger it, and once when you hit the opponent and lose it. Keeping charges low here can be a challenge even with just the dex buff, so it's best to avoid champions that trigger too many buffs of their own. You can absolutely use them, you may just be throwing a lot of heavy attacks. Whilst you have fewer than 3 charges, quantum power means the opponent will get 100% increased combat power rate, but just a few dexes and this goes away. Finally, prey on the feeble. When your buffs are nullified, expired, or fail to trigger, the defender will gain an indefinite 30% prowess, though these are removed after a special attack. Don't get hit, and this means nothing at all. In terms of defenders, Spider-Ham is the trickiest, and we may want to consider someone from Miles as well. Don't let Heimdall reach your special 2 and he won't be an issue. Against Spider-Ham, it is best to throw your special 1 as soon as you get it. This way he can't gain any of his charges. No charges means fewer power stings, no evades, no unblockables. Against Miles, whenever you throw a special attack, he will trigger his Spider Camo. This gives all attacks a 35% chance to miss against him, and this is tripled if that attack is unblockable. Black Widow Deadly Origin isn't hard, though you may need a little bit of patience if you don't have an evade counter and she throws her SP1. Much like many of the paradox paths we've seen, really most champions can take this path. Choose your champions that have big specials and make them bigger. Champions that trigger buffs other than the dex mastery will require you to be careful that you don't boil over, and champions that trigger lots of buffs are out completely. There are more champions than I can name that can take this path. You are welcome to bring many others, but a few examples could be Mole Man, Dr. Doom, Absorbing Man, Domino, Bishop, Chavez, Namor, and Onslaught. Again, if you think someone can do this path, they probably can. And if this video is helping you at all, please try not to trigger too many buffs on that like button. The boss we'll be taking in this quest is Mojo, and he is not as bad as he seems. Here we have Oscillate, No Surrender, Subterfuge Block, and Bubble Shield. This is maybe one of the strangest Mojo fights you will ever have to do. Oscillate we have seen before. Mojo will switch between high attack, very aggressive, and high armor and very passive every 15 seconds. Bubble Shield is not new to us either. Blocking hits will reduce our block proficiency, and for every 10 hits we block, the next incoming attack will be unblockable whether it hits us or not. Subterfuge Block will give you a 5% fury buff each time you parry for 10 seconds. Now normally against Mojo that would be quite an issue with his anti-life field, but not in this fight. I said it would be weird, and all that comes from the No Surrender node. You have 90% degen resistance, though this drops by a flat 30% for each bar of power you have. So you have 90% resistance from 0 to 0.99999 bars of power, 60% from 1 bar to 1.9999, 30% from 2 to 2.999 bars, and no resistance at all whilst you are at 3 bars of power. However, if you knock Mojo down, you will transfer any degens on you back onto Mojo for 1000% their original damage. This is the core of this fight. You can either play against a basically normal Mojo with some odd AI from the Oscillate, or you can play as badly as possible versus a Mojo and trigger as many degens as you can. Then you just throw them back at him for a whole load of damage. This playstyle really opens the fight up. You just need to throw your special attacks to keep your resistance high. And you really can use pretty much any science champion for this fight without any major issues. If you are worried about this fight or juggling throwing your specials or anything like that, a buff immune champion will basically just be fighting a large potato with Oscillate and Bubble Shield. The other two bosses here are, in my opinion, much worse unless you're planning on cheesing Skrull with Eye-Hulk. Do a whole load of instantly removed parries and then decks, and if you can burst him down within that stun window, then problem solved. I would still, however, recommend Mojo unless you have a big Eye-Hulk. So, for our team, well, we have a path that is pretty open and a boss that just gives us free degen damage. So our team can really vary. Red Hulk and Titania should cover the boss fine, though you could use basically any science champions, which leaves us with 3 slots for the path. Mole Man will be a good Spider-Ham counter, and we can use Gamora for Miles as long as we keep an eye on her Paradox charges. Massacre will round out this team very nicely with his big special 2s. Fairly soon after this video goes out, I will get up a short commentated video of me going through the path with the exact team I suggest above. It will be much more relaxed, but should hopefully give some good insight into how I look at getting around these issues. I will also answer any popular questions from the comments of this video and that video, so please leave yours down below. As always, remember that this is just story content, so it won't be going anywhere anytime soon. I know you want to push through to Paragon, but if you get stuck here and find yourself spending lots of resources, stop and focus on something else. We'll need those later. The monthly event quests and side quests are a great place to pick up more materials, shards, and units, as are battlegrounds and the arena. So, that's it. Everything you need to know to clear all of 7.4.4. Coming soon, 7.4.5 and 7.4.6, Superior Kang, and our doorway to Paragon. Should hopefully be all out in the next week or so. If you have any questions, please do leave them down below, and consider also joining the Discord server. A great place to get specific advice, make suggestions for future videos, and while I'm awake, I do my best to be there as much as possible. Thank you, and I will see you next time.